the finance minister resigned the day she was to present the fall budget, which was going to contain a massive deficit overrun. The job then went automatically to the industry minister, who immediately resigned, like on the spot, which then went down the line, and the next person in order was the famous two Randys. And they're not available to do the job either. We're now less than 2 hours away from the fall economic update. Why won't the Prime Minister have the courage to come in here, present it himself, and put it for a confidence vote tonight?
Ladies and gentlemen, what we're seeing now is historical, and it's not just happening in Canada. This is happening all over the world.
You've sold us out to globalism.
Okay.
You are not working for Canada. You are working for your globalist partners. I wonder how much they're paying you to betray Canada. What do we do with traitors in Canada, Mr. Trudeau? We used to hang them for treason. And you're doing that very same thing to us now.
And it seems like the average everyday citizen that once used to be quiet and just cast their vote is now going through extra lengths and hurdles to get their voices heard.
King Trudeau, what gives you the right to continue? What gives you the right to stay in office? You failed Canada. You've ruined our country. You're done. Walk away. You don't have an ounce of your father's integrity. At least he walked in the snow. You've ruined this country. Everyone around you is running from you. You are not our king. You are a public servant and you have failed.
So if you were the Prime Minister of Canada and you had all of these allegations going against you, including your finance minister has just resigned, the next one stepping up to do it, resign, and then the people over there are calling you a globalist, and as the Prime Minister, you've also taken egregious actions against your people in the ways of mandates and calling them stupid and this and that. There was one solution that Trudeau had for everybody. And I guess his advisors advised him on this. Donuts. Yeah, donuts will fix everything. Just bring him some donuts. They'll be fine. Check this out.
We got donuts over here if you want to thank you for your hard work.
I can bring some for my kids here.
Okay. The 25% tariffs we just brought in on Chinese steel to help you out.
That's going to keep my job,
Yeah,
What about the
$400
40% taxes I'm paying? And I don't have a doctor?
The $400 million that we invested to invest in the card means you're going to have a job for
I think you're only here for another year. We won't see you around probably another year.
Well, that's what elections are for.
That's right.
And I look forward to everyone exercising the right to vote.
Yep.
And the basic choice, we're going to invest in you and your job.
I don't believe you for a second.
Dental care? Do you know anyone who got dental care?
Yeah, I pay for it myself.
Okay.
We're like 3 years behind.
You have a job and coverage?
Yeah, four people in my family.
We've got
every time we go for a dental visit, it's costing me about $50 in my pocket per person.
Okay.
Why? I have a good job. You're not really doing anything for us, Justin.
Well, actually, we just invested, so 500,000 people who haven't been to the dentist got to go to the dentist over the past few months.
Probably like my neighbor that doesn't go to work because she's lazy.
You know what?
Doesn't go to work. She lives the same way.
Most Canadians try to stick up for each other, and that's what we're going to keep doing.
Yeah.
Good luck and take care of your family, sir.
No, I'm good. Thank you.
All right.
Have a nice day.
Have a good day, sir. Good night. All right, the other guys got the donuts. Excellent.
So let them eat cake, or in this case, donuts. As we're seeing amazing, strong women being put into areas all around the world of power. And it's encouraging to see that. So with the woke movement, though, it's never enough. And the far left feminist movement is still somewhat of a reach in order to get some votes, at least, right? And here's what Justin Trudeau had just come out and said that really just got him in more trouble.
Just a few weeks ago, the United States voted for a second time to not elect its first woman president. Everywhere, women's rights and women's progress is under attack, overtly and subtly. But I want you to know that I am, and always will be, a proud feminist. You will always have an ally in me and in my government.
Well, that all sounds wonderful and good, right? Especially if you're a feminist or really into the far left feminist movement. But is it true? Well, Pierre Poilievre, the man who's chasing his tail in next in line to be the prime minister, had this to say about that. Listen to this.
Remember, this finance minister, this outgoing and now former finance minister, told the world that she was putting in place guardrails to limit the damage that her deficits could do. Her deficit plan was $40 billion, a mind-bogglingly large number that was already contributing to rekindling inflation again. This $40 billion was too big. It was out of control as it was. But at least to her credit, she said no more than that. And she decided she would have a guardrail. We know a guardrail is meant to stop vehicles from flying off cliffs. Well, as she was trying throughout the year to avoid going off the cliff, there were two people on the bus who had other ideas. The Prime Minister and carbon tax Carney. And the two of them went to the front of the bus, they grabbed the wheel, they pulled it sharply to the left, smashing into that guardrail, and she tried to resist. So they pulled even further to the left, and they stepped on the gas. The bus flew off the cliff, and now Canadians are at the bottom of the ravine in a big pile of debt. But instead of taking responsibility, the Prime Minister told her that she should take all the blame. That when the ambulances and the police cruisers arrived and the fire department, that she take the blame for running the bus off the cliff, and that carbon tax Carney and the Prime Minister could innocently sit back, and that the Prime Minister could then put carbon tax Carney in charge of driving the next bus. The good old boys in the back room would protect themselves and make the finance minister, the then finance minister, take all the blame. Reminds you of the way they treated the former Attorney General, a brilliant and brave First Nations woman who refused to kowtow to corruption. It reminds us of the way they treated Jane Philpott and so many other brave women who have dared question this self-described feminist prime minister. Some feminist indeed, throwing the bus off the cliff and throwing women under the bus. That is his real record.
So there we have Pierre Poilievre given his account on what he thinks Justin Trudeau and who he thinks Justin Trudeau really is. And a lot of people out there may be saying, oh, poor Chrystia Freeland, Chrystia Freeland, she didn't do anything wrong. Well, if you remember correctly, Chrystia Freeland is part of the system as well. So let's not give her a total pass, because remember, Chrystia Freeland was also a total abomination. She froze Canadian citizens' bank accounts for opposing Trudeau's draconian COVID mandates. So she wasn't the Woman of the Year for Time magazine. So here's a quick reflection on that.
So you're confirming that accounts have been frozen, both personal and corporate, but you're not releasing the information. And the actual follow-up is, I'm just wondering whether the bank accounts will be targeted of individuals who donated to the Give, Send, Go and the GoFundMe campaigns. Are they considered designated people under the Emergencies Act, meaning that their credit cards could be cut and financial services are targeting them as well?
Okay, so the names of both individuals and entities, as well as crypto wallets, have been shared by the RCMP with financial institutions, and accounts have been frozen, and more accounts will be frozen. Crowdfunding platforms and payment service providers have started the registration process with FinTrack. In terms of the specifics on whose accounts are being frozen, you now have the regulations. The financial service providers have those regulations as well, and they, working with law enforcement, will be making the operational decisions.
Who remembers that moment in time like it was yesterday? I do. It was the truckers in Canada when they were saying, look, we don't want to take the vaccination. We don't know enough about it yet. So we're holding off, and we're not going to do that. And people started giving Give, Send, Go and all of these, they started sending money, people who agreed with the truckers in Canada for staging that protest. And they started saying, okay, well, we want to support you while you're staging that protest, and they started sending money through these apps, Give Us and Go, GoFundMe, and all these other apps. And the truckers that's how they were making their living at the time, and that's how they were feeding their families. So at that moment, Trudeau and Chrystia Freeland were able to go into private citizens' bank accounts, and whoever were funding these apps and these protesters, they literally froze their accounts. They sanctioned their own people from earning a living, from receiving and giving money to those they felt needed it. And for this lady to be considered a hero or any somewhat victim, I disagree with it personally. But now that Trudeau is throwing even his greatest allies under the bus, what's next? How are people able to get rid of him sooner than later? How can you just fire a government official who you know is corrupt instead of waiting and going through all the red tapes and hoops and ladders that they have you go through, and by the time they get done, they've totally demolished everything you believed in and you're in part of your country and your lifestyle. So what can the world do about that? Because Canada's not the only one that is seeing this corruption. It's been seen all around the world as of now. I mean, every country has their good apples and their bad apples. But what do you think could be done to get people, government leaders and officials, bureaucrats out before they can do any more damage? We hear impeachment. Well, that could take a year to impeach somebody, and then you got the next one in line just ready to step in and who believes and was part of the agenda. That's not going to work. I think we need to figure out a better system. But those are just my thoughts. Please tell me what yours are. I ask you also to like, subscribe, and click that notification button. Become part of this One Love family as we are all in this together. Ladies and gentlemen, we love you all, and we will see you on the next one. Bye-bye.